Hello there. I'm Emma.
And I'm Cass, and this is Honey Do Me Podcast.
Welcome back. We are a podcast that dives deep into your sex, relationships, confidence, and then everything that makes you you, babe.
Yeah, your mental health. Yeah, whatever you got going on in that pretty head and between those pretty legs. That sounds so predatory. I apologize.
That did just a little bit, but all of this is to say that we care about you. We care about your interest in what makes you you, and we're just here to talk about it, and we're so happy to do it.
So happy. We are changing it up a little bit this season. We've been talking about some different things, and we will continue talking about some things outside of the bedroom, but today we wanted to bring it back, maybe a little bit to the basics, but like elevated, because we're talking about vaginas, we're talking about birth, we're talking about menstruation, we're talking about your titties a little bit. Peeing.
All of it was kind of like we started with a structure of learning more about the vagina and vulva, and then it turned into a brain dump of all of these questions that like we just needed to ask about our vaginas and vulvas, because more information beget more questions.
Yeah.
Because we just don't learn enough about our vaginas.
And more answers beget more pleasure, more happiness, more joy, less shame, and less fear. Also, I feel like we get into fear in this episode around birth, around your vagina, and all of the things that can happen to that flower. I don't think April would like me calling it a flower. But we are talking with April Davis. She's an educator, sex educator, and menstrual educator who has tons of experience in the birthing realm. And her company's House of Vagina. And she's just so cool.
Yeah. She's so cool. And in preparation for this episode, I just wanted to look up more like preliminary questions that we could ask about the vagina, because I just wanted to make sure that we covered them.
Yes.
But I found a fact that I just need to share before we dive in, because it did not come up in the episode, but I need to share it.
Lay it on.
The headline was, vaginas have more in common with sharks than you think. First of all, period.
I'm in.
Of course they do. But it turns out, and I'm not going to cite this because go look it up yourself.
Because I don't remember.
Yeah, that's actually what it comes down to. In our like discharge and what like lubes us up naturally down there is this compound called squalene, I believe it's pronounced.
That sounds right.
Which is also like an oil-ish thing found in sharks' livers. So,
sorry.
Take that.
It's actually fine when they call your period Shark Week?
I was thinking that too, because I was like, oh my God, wait, Shark Week. But yeah, so a part of this like compound that is naturally produced, like is also naturally produced in sharks. So
that is fascinating. Isn't
that cool?
Call me Jaws, baby.
Just like, I know. I fucking love it because it just makes me feel like so fierce for having a vagina.
Imagine that's what you name your vagina. Jaws.
Jaws. Fucking Jaws. Oh, yeah.
Or the Megalodon.
Or Sharknado.
That's it. It's Sharknado.
Yeah. Welcome to Sharknado, bitch.
So
welcome to our version of Shark Week with this episode. And we'll see you on the other side, babe.
Emma and Cass do Shark Week. Let's go. Okay. We'll see you on the other side. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Hello, everyone. It is April Davis, owner of House of Vagina. I am a menstrual cycle and sex educator who's very passionate about everyone having great orgasms and enjoying their menstrual cycles, or at least maximizing, the potential of the menstrual cycle, and really everything in between, right? Plus tons of humor and community and just the relatability of all things sexual. So does that
does it.
That's me.
That's absolutely perfect. Yeah, we have had you on before to also talk about vaginas, vulvas, and everything we need to know, because you're an amazing educator and we love learning from you. We had so much fun, and I'm so
glad to be back.
Yeah, well, we're so happy to have you. And we would love to continue that conversation as we jump into our new season about just figuring out what we need to know about our bodies that maybe we don't know or that we're not aware of right now. So let's start with that. What do we definitely need to know about our vaginas, but that we probably don't know?
Okay, so something that I am a little bit worried about. Labiaplasty is on the rise. And this is when people go have cosmetic surgery on their vulva. Typically, it removes portions of the labia and other tissue. And it really concerns me that this is increasing, and we're especially seeing this surgery increase in younger and younger vulva owners, young women. Like it's very concerning. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of that because of the prevalence of pornography, and people wanting to look a certain way. And I want to be a voice of warning. I know activists who have had portions of their clitoris removed during procedures like that. All of that tissue it's part of arousal, right? Like I tell people, I'm like, look, if it's getting caught in your zipper, like you can't zip your pants up, right? Like, sure, maybe at that point, maybe that's a discussion to have, right? But if it's not bothering you, the risks in my mind do not outweigh the benefits. I don't really actually see the benefits, to be honest, because all that tissue is necessary for stimulation, arousal, lubrication, all of this. And I have yet to have anyone come back to me and say, I'm so happy about my labiaplasty. It made everything about my sex life better. The opposite, though, I've had lots of people DMing me and saying, biggest regret of my life. Damn. I no longer have the same amount of lubrication that I used to have. I no longer have the same type of stimulation. My orgasms it's more difficult for me to climax. And I just don't feel like it's worth it to look prepubescent. And that's something else too that concerns me in this entire realm. Why are we trying to look more and more and more like children? Because the hairlessness, right? The tucked in, and it's tricky. Is it more childlike? Is it just more blow up doll like? Right? Is it just we want to look like literal Barbies? We don't know. None of it's great though.
No, when you start to think about it, it's super icky, and it's like we do, have a rape culture that fetishizes children, and it's horrifying and disgusting, and it's disgusting, but also an impossible standard for an adult woman to try and be a prepubescent girl. That's an impossible standard. I've talked about it before. Truly. This is very different. But I have a younger sister, and it's like, I would try on clothes and I'm like, these aren't fitting me the way that they used to. And then I'm like, oh, I might as well just give them to her. And then she'll try them on and they fit perfectly. And I'm like, oh, no wonder they don't fucking fit me, because they fit somebody over a decade younger than me. Like, why should they fit me? So just a minor example of that.
No, but it's absolutely, that's spot on.
How do we, if we're not people who go around and talk to our friends about the shape and size of our labia, how do we start becoming more comfortable with what we have so that we aren't turning to labiaplasties maybe as much? How do we start feeling comfortable with how we look?
There are many accounts online, even on Instagram. What is her name or their name? There is a couple of incredible artists that do different portrayals of vulvas in all of their glory, all the differences. There's a number of different photo projects that have photographed all different types of vulvas. I think it's called The Wall of Vagina, and it's actually casts of all different vulvas so that you get a sense of how much they really are like snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them look exactly the same. I worked in childbirth for years, and I can absolutely like tell you that really, truly, none of them are the same. Everyone is asymmetrical, has different shapes. Are there inner labia or external labia more, prominent? Like there's so much to it. And so I think there's a lot of value in cherishing how unique we all are, while also like we still, I mean, it's as unique as your face, right? So I think there's inherent beauty in that. And I think we can lean into that beauty, and be so grateful for this incredible body that we have that can give us so much pleasure and joy. And so I think leaning more into that instead of, wow, I wish I looked more like this,
Mm-hmm.
um, is a great place to start. And getting familiar with like, oh, my vulva is so totally different and also exactly the same as everyone else's,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's interesting to think of them as snowflakes, and also what you said about them being as individual as your face, because I feel like with the rise in like aesthetic procedures in general, like especially on Instagram, a lot of people's faces are starting to look really similar because they're doing all of the same procedures to them. So it's like, no wonder we'd be doing that to our vulvas as well. But I was watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Oh, I can't wait to start
Hey,
that.
that's literally where this is coming from, because I was like, no, they did a labiaplasty. No, don't platform this.
Yeah, so she was talking about getting a labiaplasty, but the way she framed it, I thought, like, I was curious because I'd never heard somebody talk about it in this way. She was saying because she had given birth to 2 kids, her like vagina was like coming out. And so she felt like more of it was out. And so I felt like she framed it like it was a medical issue or like it was like physically uncomfortable, but I had never heard somebody talk about a labiaplasty in that way. Like, is that a thing? Like, does your vagina start to come out?
If so, you have something called a prolapse, and a labiaplasty is not the answer. So that's what's hard. If that truly was what is happening, and she got a vaginal prolapse taken care of, that's really different. But the way that Sheree referenced it was like, I got my cookie fixed. I like was so mad that she used the word cookie too, because I was like, really? Like, come on, you had an opportunity here. You perpetuated that?
Yeah.
Oh, cookie. I feel like I haven't heard that one.
Especially out of the mouth of a grown woman. I think I was like, really? Like, come on.
Well, I like that you suggested Instagram accounts for the opposite reason, to find some sort of community and identity, like in being different and being like just unique. Because I do feel like, especially, well, in sex in general, it's hard to feel like you're not the only one. So like, I didn't start talking about my labia. I mean, I had no root there. Where would I? So once Cass and I started this platform, I mean, obviously it was a part of the conversation way more, but I still felt like one of the only ones, and I still kind of do in some like weird corner of my confidence. It's like, no, still, like you have no idea what it's like to be my labia. So
but mine touched the floor. I have no idea.
But it all just kind of gets wrapped into like shame and discomfort when it's not a part of the conversation, or maybe you feel like you don't have someone to talk to about it. So having a little bit of an anonymous platform to kind of like visually see like, oh, these are casts of other vulvas, like look how different they are. Even those little drawings that I see on like Balessa's account like still make me feel seen. And I love them. So it's just a really good tool, I think. Yeah.
I agree. It is difficult though, because I'm like, I do think that there is benefits to seeing other people and seeing how normal we all really are. Because I know for myself, like it coming, like working in childbirth, it was very like, oh, I look exactly like everyone else, and also I have a precious snowflake that is totally different than anyone else's. Like it just kind of helped confirm that. Same with boobs. I saw so many boobs. And even like when I was breastfeeding myself, like it was always nice to like hang out with other breastfeeding moms sometimes even and be like, okay, this is not weird. This is a thing we do, So yeah, I don't know. Get with your friends, compare vulvas, whatever you need to do.
You heard it here first.
Don't
Cass.
get a labiaplasty.
Cass and I, we don't hug, but we'll compare labia.
Yeah.
We'll spread them.
Yep. Yep. For science and the podcast.
For science.
For science. Are there any other things you feel like in general, like, I don't know, as a society, we don't recognize or know when it comes to vaginas, but absolutely should in order to take care of them or feel better about ourselves?
Or pleasure them?
Well, so something else, and back to Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, right? What she was saying, like, I think there's this assumption that somehow birth just absolutely wrecks your vagina and vulva. And personally, anecdotally, I definitely had the opposite. So for me, I was more able to have vaginal orgasms since having children. I enjoy way more internal pleasure. I'm able to have cervical orgasms. And I think some of that probably comes with like grown woman maturity, right? I was 25 having my first child. I'm almost 40 now. So like, she's grown up a little bit, right? But I can honestly say like between having my first child, like after having my first child, that's when I started to really enjoy more like internal stimulation. And so it's interesting because previously, I had thought like, oh, my vagina is going to be ruined. My vulva is going to be ruined. And I honestly can say like, I feel like the opposite has been true. And it's hard. I didn't take a lot of pictures beforehand, but even in terms of like side by sides of how I'm looking, I'm pretty much the same. And so I had minimal damage with my delivery. So I am very, very lucky that way. But this societal belief that having children somehow ruins our vaginas, ruins our vulvas, isn't necessarily true. I've seen some beautiful vulvas on 40-year-old women right after giving birth. You'd be amazed.
You'd be blown away.
You'd be blown away.
Blown away.
So where does that whole idea, like, is there stretching then? Because I feel like that's one of the other things that people say is like, you're just going to be a lot bigger. And I feel like that's the same thing with like slut shaming is like, oh, if you've had sex with a lot of penises, then you're going to be loose. Like, where does that come from and how true is that?
Patriarchy. It comes from patriarchy. Just if you ever really want, that's really the answer for a lot of these questions, unfortunately, because what's really weird, married women have way more sex than single women, even like, especially single women that are dating around. Us married women are just getting it. But no one is like, well, married women have gross, loose vaginas because they're having all that sex. We never hear that. It's only if you're having sex with different people that your vagina gets weird and loose.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Weird, right? Weird how married women are good. We're good, even though we're having way more sex.
Weird how the science works on that one.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's all science too. It's definitely not the patriarchy.
It's all facts from people who don't study vaginas.
I mean, if we want to get, what's one of the meanest things you can call someone? A mother effer. Because we have these loose vaginas. Patriarchy. Yeah, it's real bad. All the swears most of them just lead back to women or parts of a woman. Yeah, like when you look at patriarchy, it's heartbreaking. Like watching your faces right now, it's so sad. I'm sorry I broke the glass. You will now not be able to unsee it.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible how many things have just become like just common vernacular that you don't look at.
Like the worst thing to be is someone who fucks moms? Are you kidding? Oh my God.
Yeah. And guess what? We're great at it. So I don't see I'm so good at it. I've made children. Like, come on.
Multiple. Yeah, you're killing it.
Multiple.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's sad.
That is really sad.
So,
damn.
Are there differences in the vagina post-birth that we can expect?
Oh, absolutely. Right. So, like, we can definitely see some pelvic floor issues before birth. after birth, diastasis recti happens, right? Like you got to take good care of your pelvic floor. And I would tell people, if you're planning on having kids, start taking good care of your pelvic floor now. After you have children, hire a pelvic floor physical therapist to have a look at you, because your obstetrician sticks 2 fingers in there at 6 weeks postpartum and goes, well, can't feel anything, and then pats you on the bum and sends you on your way.
That feels thorough.
Ugh.
Yeah, I
Helpful.
can't. It's our postpartum care here is really bad, and so like in France, they part of postpartum care is to see a pelvic floor physical therapist. That's the standard of care. We got to do better here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have children and feel like, oh man, I don't feel the same, I feel looser or I feel tighter, go in and see a pelvic floor physical therapist, not an obstetrician or a gynecologist. That's not their specialty, pelvic floor physical therapy, and see what's going on. Because yes, absolutely, birth can change your vagina and kind of the structure of your pelvic floor, but a lot of the time it's not necessarily permanent changes. There's stuff that can be done. And if you do feel like you were stitched up wrong or had damage beyond, you can always go in and have things revised. Like there's a lot of options available. And I feel like oftentimes people feel very hopeless. Like, oh, I knew the whole time this was going to mess me up. So of course I am. It's kind of like peeing your pants. Is it common? Yes. Is it normal? Not necessarily, right? After you have kids. Like there are things you can do, and it doesn't necessarily mean just doing Kegel exercises. About 50% of people that go into pelvic floor physical therapy are actually too tight from too many Kegels. And so this is why it's so important to work with a pelvic floor physical therapist and not necessarily just go at it alone. Sometimes you can actually cause more damage by Kegling. So you want to hire a professional.
Wow. That's so interesting. And because I know that Cass wanted to work with a pelvic floor physical therapist with your endo forever ago. And to me, that just wasn't a common, I'd never heard of a pelvic floor physical therapist, like as a tool. It felt a little bit more like holistic medicine to look at it that way. But the fact that it is so important to our health and our bodies, that's wild that it's just not more common in our conversations more.
Oh, I agree. And they're not always easy to find. But they're considered, they're Western medicine. It's physical therapy. And so it's definitely something to look into if you've got pelvic floor stuff going on.
Can you talk a little bit more about you said getting stitched up? And I feel like that's just such a scary, scary thing. Can you talk a little bit more about that to maybe help us not feel so scared?
Yes. So there's so many different trains of thought on this. Whether or not it's better to have an episiotomy or to tear, if you heal better after tearing, because it's not like a straight cut, it's like kind of jagged, so your skin tends to kind of heal potentially better. You can have internal damage, you can have external damage. It really depends on your provider, what they like to do in terms of stitching you up after you deliver, and that's if you need it. I needed 2 stitches after my first child. I didn't have any damage on my second or my third. So, but I have very stretchy skin. Another way you can tell how well, we all kind of know what our skin type is, right? And how stretchy our skin is. I remember I went to one delivery. She had teeny tiny stretch marks all down her thighs and her belly. And that was kind of a red flag to the midwife I was working for at the time, because she was like, her skin does not love to stretch. She is, we're going to have to keep a really close eye on her. And that ended up being very, very, very true. And so she definitely had a little bit more damage than someone who has super, super stretchy skin. And there's obviously things you can do, right? We can drink lots of water. We can eat lots of healthy fats and other things to help keep our skin supple and healthy. And but when it comes down to it, and this is true of the pelvic floor as well, a lot of it's genetic. So there's some things where we feel like, oh, I have this power over this. If I just do this perfectly, then I won't have any problems. But your genes are always coming into play with how strong your pelvic floor is and then how stretchy your skin is. So Some people love perineal massage and other things leading up to the delivery. If that feels good to you, do it. I was not a huge fan of having my perineum massaged previous to childbirth, and this is a great conversation to have with your care providers as you are hiring them to deliver your baby. So my first doctor for my first delivery, he told me, he's like, obviously my goal is always healthy mom, healthy baby at the end of the delivery. He's like, but secretly a win for me is if everyone is intact. There's no damage to mom and, no damage to baby. And I was like, I hate that that's like an above and beyond, but good for you. You're hired.
All
And
right.
he took great care of my vagina. So that's a conversation to have with your care provider, your midwives, your doctors. Say, how often do you do episiotomies? How often do you cut people out? How often do you see horrible, horrible tearing? Because if they're like, oh, all the time, that might not be your doctor.
Quick side note, what are your thoughts on having a man as an OB or a gynecologist?
I have extremely mixed reviews. I know a handful of male OBs that are incredible, and I know a couple of female OBs that I would never hire in a million years. I hate that this is true, but a lot of female doctors are worse. And so I struggle because I've met so much of both at this point that, because for a while I was like, oh no, I'm sexist. I think all providers should only be female. But then I've had some really bad experiences with some female doctors, and I'm like, never mind. I just want people that care about women.
Yeah. That should probably be like the main precursor is caring about women. Right?
We love a man who loves women. And if you see that trait in a male doctor, he's probably going to take really good care of you during your delivery. So like my first delivery was a male doctor. He loves women and he took great care of me. He was like a very, very on top of it doctor. I interviewed a bunch before I hired him. But I'm so grateful for him. And then my other two deliveries were with nurse midwives, and I would not trade that for anything. But they were also very compassionate, and I love the midwifery model of care. It's a little bit different than the obstetric model of care. It's a little more whole person centered. And so I always recommend a midwife by default. But if for some reason you have to escalate up to an OB, look for someone that loves women. And people with vulvas.
I feel like that should just be like in order to get hired anywhere. Shouldn't you care about women? You know what I mean? Like to do anything ever, like shouldn't you have to care about
But isn't
women?
that funny that it needs to be said? Like make sure you find someone that like respects women. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like it's going to be a stretch and you're going to have to interview a lot of men. But find someone that respects
Good luck out there.
Yeah, find one that cares that you live, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Weird.
Because there's a compassion I feel like that comes with someone else who's actually delivered a baby. But then sometimes, does that always serve us? Are we too compassionate sometimes? Are we in it too much with them? So there's some of those questions. But I have been frustrated sometimes with female doctors that it's almost like they're meaner because they're like, you can suck it up. You can be fine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're worse. You're worse.
You're hurting my feelings more.
More.
Wow. Well, those are also great questions to bring up that we should be asking our doctors. I think we may have gone over a few of those last time as well. But you just don't know what to ask if we're not told what to ask, if we're not told how to advocate for our own care. You know,
there's
it's
so
like
much, right?
Yeah. So I would never think to ask about like how many episiotomies, right? That's the word. You've had during your labors, but that makes sense that would be a question to ask when you're interviewing doctors.
Yeah. How common do you do that? You also ask them their C-section rates. If you're planning on having a C-section, go with someone with a high C-section rate, right? You want someone that's good at it and well practiced. But if you don't want to have a C-section and you go to a doctor whose C-section rate is 80%, it's probably not your doctor.
Might not be a good fit.
Yeah.
There's so much to think about.
There's so much to think about. Jesus Christ.
It's a lot to carry. It is. It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. So maybe we backtrack to periods, so a little bit before pregnancy. What are some
Hopefully.
cool facts? I know, hopefully. What are some cool facts that we can learn about periods that aren't just like daunting cramps, everything that we're told as people with periods that like, sorry, your life sucks half the month. What are some cool facts we could learn?
Make it better.
Make it better.
Okay. It's a superpower. I think so much of what we're taught and the media and everything else, right, portrays the menstrual cycle as just misery and woe. There's really not a lot of benefit. And we can take this all the way back. This is great. Going to maturation, right? So when we're 11, 12, we get sat down in 5th or 6th grade and told, and this is the stark contrast. As girls, it's like, you're going to bleed, and that's gross, so cover it up. You're going to get boobs, but they're embarrassing. Put a bra on, keep them tucked away. You're going to get hair everywhere. You got to get rid of that too. Like, it's super, like, we don't do that in America. Lose the hair, hide the boobs, especially the nipples, and also hide the periods.
And plug it up.
Oh, and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
and
the
don't
boys
complain
are over
about
in
it.
the other classroom getting told, and don't complain about it. The boys are getting told, you're going to get bigger and hairier. Awesome. Your penis and your balls are going to get even bigger. Awesome. Your voice is going to get deeper. Awesome.
That's so true when you stack them up in those like 2 columns. That's terrible.
Oh, yeah. It's such a win. It's the best day of their lives. Meanwhile, all of us are going home with a bag of pads, just like, when is this happening to me? Does anyone? No one knows. It's just going to happen one day, huh? Like, anxiety is born the day we go to maturation.
Yeah. Just for all the 11-year-olds out there who should not be listening to this, but maybe to parents of 11-year-olds, what are signs that you are going to get your period? Like, are there signs, or is it just one day?
Yes.
Pew.
No, we've got a couple things leading up to it, right?
Okay.
So because we do their laundry as parents, we start to see the vaginal discharge in the undies. We see the breast buds coming in, right? As they're kind of starting to get the little bee stings under the shirt. As soon as we've got bee stings and vaginal discharge for about a year, we know it's coming.
Okay.
So those are 2 very visible signs that you can kind of start to look for as a parent. And, you can also, I feel like you can predict pretty well off of like, when did you start? When did your husband's mother or sister start? And then kind of somewhere in between that, probably when your kid's going to.
That makes sense.
Interesting. I think.
But let's revisit masturbation. Let's have some more fun with this instead of having this be the day of doom and gloom.
Please.
Right? What if we were sat down as young girls and told, guess what? You are about to enter your cyclical era. You have a superpower called the menstrual cycle, and it has all sorts of cool rhythms and ebbs and flows, just like the moon, just like the tides, just like the bees. You are one with Mother Earth, and you cycle just like she does. All 4 seasons that she has, you have them too inside you because you're a piece of the earth. Like, this is a much more fun way to present this, right?
Yeah.
When we start cycling,
So
we often feel like, okay, so we know we're going to bleed, right? Well, that's our inner winter. And so when you're told like that's inner winter, we look forward to winter. We love the coziness. We love drinking hot chocolate. We love curling up next to a fire to get warm. Why can our inner winter not also be something we celebrate just like outer winter, right? It's a time to be quiet and also to hibernate, which we love doing in the winter. So let's start loving that while we're menstruating. So after we hibernate, we have our follicular phase, which is our inner spring. And this is typically when we love new things. We get this new energy. We have this new vibrant life going on. And it's the best. This is an amazing time to like really tackle life. This is when testosterone's on the rise. And so oftentimes this is when we feel very comfortable in our very patriarchal society, because we have that testosterone to kind of support it. We move from that into ovulation, and that is when we are a full moon. So people oftentimes think that the full moon represents menstruation. It is actually ovulation. This is when we are a werewolf. This is when we are trying to get ourselves pregnant. So we are feral. We are fertile. We are terrifying. Our face is way more symmetrical than usual. We are super hot and we want to get laid. Full
Wait,
moon.
actually, or we just feel that way, that they're more symmetrical?
No, actually, our features are more symmetrical when we are ovulating. This is like, when you like go to a party or a social gathering or like you've had your picture taken and you're like, oh my gosh, I look so good and I am hilarious. I am nailing it tonight. Everyone loves me. I love me. You are probably ovulating.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And that's just so cute with like the
like once you have
Oh
yeah.
like that's
Once you have access to this information, you can start planning your life around it. Guess when you're going to throw a party next? When you're ovulating. When are you going to go out on a super hot date with someone? When you're ovulating. When are you going to do your next photo shoot? When you're ovulating. Yeah. Right? We got to maximize. So testosterone peaks, estrogen, all of it, and then progesterone comes in and brings us into the luteal phase. In the luteal phase, the first week of it, usually you're kind of coming off of ovulation, and so you're still on a high and life is good. And then the second half of the luteal phase, we question all of our life choices. We get a little bit mean. We get a little bit tired. We get a little bit grouchy. And I used to think of this only as a negative thing, but I started to really look at it and say, if I question all of my life choices once a month and I still stay here, that means deep in my heart that I do love my husband and I don't want to leave my children. And I'm going to stay in this home and raise these children with that man. Because if I've made it this far, I can keep going.
Yeah.
And so if we come at this and we work it reverse, right? So like, for example, I always use the garage example. You go out to the garage one day and you realize that the entire thing is an absolute disaster and it needs to be cleaned. And obviously you're luteal, so it is your husband's fault that the garage is in the state that it's in, and it is only his fault. And in a rage, you start tearing apart the garage. You get about halfway through because you're about to menstruate and realize I'm exhausted and I've made a terrible, terrible error. So you like literally fall down on your face. And then the next day you wake up bleeding. So you're even more exhausted. And you're like, okay, I guess we'll get to that when we get to it. So your garage then sits for 2 more months in its disaster state, half torn apart. And you get that much more mad. There's a fight. There's discussions. And when you do finally slap it back together, you're so mad about it that you don't even do a great job. And really the whole thing is just sad. Might I offer a better way?
Sure.
I'd love to hear it.
I'm open.
So we go out and luteal. We know we're luteal and we go, wow, I'm super pissed about the garage right now. I'm going to sit down with a piece of paper because that's about all the energy I have in me. Then I'm going to draw out a map of how I wish this looked. And then tomorrow when I'm menstruating and I'm an oracle and I'm closest to my intuition, I'm going to feel deep in my spirit how the garage should be laid out. And you're going to remember, I got to order those shelves on Amazon. I should probably get some more paint because we need to paint that corner. And you put together this gorgeous map of the garage. You take a nap, you rest, you nourish yourself, you hibernate, and you burst forth out of hibernation 2 days later, feeling like $1,000,000 and ready to tackle the garage. You have all the energy and testosterone to support your madness, and you tear through that thing in like 2 days, organizing it exactly how you want it. And then when you're ovulating, like a couple days after that, you have wild sex in the garage because it's clean.
What a plan.
Oh, you just painted a beautiful picture.
It's a better life.
It's a better life.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That just
so like I help teach entrepreneurs like how to do this, right? Because like the only way I've survived school and work and raising the kids and doing all things, I literally tailor everything to my menstrual cycle.
Wow.
Just makes sense, you know?
It does.
It's the best.
Ugh, makes me regret my Marina.
So with your Mirena, you are still cycling.
Okay, how do I know?
So what you're going to do, and this is called reverse tracking. Do you bleed at all?
No, not anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for signs of ovulation instead of signs of menstruation. So
Okay.
with the Mirena and with the
Mhm.
copper IUD, you typically still ovulate. It
Okay.
just prevents you from getting pregnant.
Mhm.
So what you're going to look for is an increase in cervical mucus.
Mhm.
And as that builds, you'll start to see like, okay, I've got mucus in my undies. Oh, I really got mucus in my, oh my gosh, I just went to wipe and it was like an oil slick. Like the super slimy, super slippery stuff. That is
Mhm.
ovulation fluid. This egg white stuff, that's how we know we're ovulating, right? So
Okay.
once you get that, you're like, okay, I'm ovulating. Then you can track from there. So instead of tracking from the first of your cycle, you track from the middle to the middle.
Okay. That's
So,
encouraging.
and you could verify this by taking your temperature every single day if you wanted to. So, like our
Mhm.
actual body temperature changes through our cycle. So, we can verify ovulation by temp tracking. And
Mhm.
you could also check your cervix and say, like, cervix, what are you doing up there? Like, are we moving forward? Or we tucked back? Where are we going? Because your cervix actually moves throughout your entire cycle as well.
Whoa. What are the positions throughout your cycle of your cervix?
So, while we're menstruating, it's pulled forward. Because a lot of people think the cervix is just the end of the vaginal canal. It actually is hanging down into the vaginal canal. So it's going to pull forward to menstruate. It'll tuck back up again once you're done menstruating. And this is often when we're kind of dry. We don't see as much discharge. It's
Mhm.
going to turn more forward and soften up when we're ovulating. And then it's going to tuck back up again during the luteal phase. So when we're menstruating and when we're ovulating, our cervix typically kind of feels like our lips, and then the rest of the month, it feels like the tip of our nose.
Well, there you
Oh,
go.
I remember you
Yeah.
maybe mentioned, I remember the nose thing. Um,
Yeah.
oh, interesting. How far
We
up?
have all these cool signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of this shit just makes me feel like a magical witch that can predict the future and like tell
We
you how the
are.
ocean's doing.
We are. Like literally.
Oh. And then how far up do we reach? I mean, I know that we'll know when we get there, but like to prepare yourself, how far up do you have to reach your cervix?
Yes. Everyone is a special snowflake. This circling all the way back around. So some people have really shallow vaginal canals. Some people have really long, twisty, turny ones, right? And then
Twisty.
if she's tucked up back there, she might be really tucked up back there. But what you can do is just bear down a little bit, and typically it'll pull
Mm.
your cervix forward, and you can get kind of an idea of what she's doing.
Oh.
So
Mm.
you can't lose things in the vagina, right? Like you can't. There's a
I mean,
stopper.
there's nowhere for it to go. Whether
Yeah.
or not you can lose things in there, yes, you definitely can. But it's not going anywhere. It's
Right.
just lodged in your vagina
They're like
somewhere.
temporarily lost.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And if it's lost for more than how many minutes, hours, days, when should you go to a doctor?
Ooh, this depends on what it is.
Okay.
For me personally, right? Let's just say I have lost something in my vagina and I cannot find it. If it is a tampon, I'm going to be a little bit more worried about it
Okay.
because we know toxic shock is more
Mm-hmm.
likely to happen the longer that we have things in. So the midwife that I worked for, she also worked at Planned Parenthood, and she said it was really funny because like at least once a week someone would come in and be like, I don't know what is going on. I have this horrible smell. Something's up. Something's itchy. She's like, it was always a tampon that they'd forgotten about. The string had gotten caught up in there. She's like, as soon as they opened their legs, as soon as I smelled it, I could tell immediately, like, oh, that's a tampon that's been lost. Which I was
Oh,
like, ooh, wow.
what an interesting thing
So
to become
that's
familiar with.
yes, but it is incredibly common to
Hmm.
forget about that last tampon, go on with your life, and then be like, man, something's broken. Something is
Yeah.
very wrong.
Hmm.
So that's common. Menstrual cup, same thing. Like if it's been in there for more than 12 hours and you
Mm.
cannot get it out for the life of you, probably time to phone a friend or, go in and see somebody. Your Nuva ring, you probably need to be changing that out like you're supposed to, right? Like, so yeah, all these things.
What about a condom?
Yeah, you definitely are going to want to get that out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most things I'd be like, give it a day. If you really can't get it out,
but like,
go see someone.
If it's been like 5 minutes, it's like when you get a ring stuck on your finger and you start to panic.
Oh, yeah.
Like that feeling of like, oh, we're going to have to cut this off.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like if it's been in there 5 minutes too long, anything's going to happen. Like you can chill out.
No, and if anything, especially like, let's say you lost a condom in there. Part of me would be like, if you're getting to the hot panic part and you just can't get it out, I would seriously just be like, you know what? Sleep on it. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to avoid pregnancy, you may want to hurry more. But I also am like, if it came off and it's stuck in there, we're kind of screwed.
We're past that.
The damage is already done, right? Go take the plan B and worry about getting the condom out in the morning.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's not going anywhere. So as long as you can retrieve.
Yeah. Give it a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think of that.
And whoever was wearing the condom might help too. That they might be able to help you.
Well, they put it in there. They should get it out.
Contractually obligated to go up there and get it. Yeah.
I think of that episode of Broad City where Abby goes to pee at a really nice restaurant and a condom falls out. So she calls the last person she had sex with and they're like, I didn't use a condom. So it was the person before them. I love that.
No!
That's right. I remember that. And she just feels like a walking trash can. After that.
Seriously.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So much DNA.
So much DNA. Okay, well, those are good benchmarks for us to remember. I have another question. This is just brain dumping questions that have come into my mind.
I love this.
When you are peeing and you feel like there is still more pee to pee, but you're not going, I have heard a rumor that it's bad to like force it out for your pelvic floor. Is that true or false, or do you know if that's bad for you?
That's a great question for a pelvic floor physical therapist. I also have heard we should avoid forcing and pushing hard on any of that type of stuff, right? I'd be so curious to see what a pelvic floor physical therapist would say.
So I did go to a pelvic floor physical therapist before, and we did talk about this. And she said, don't force it because there will always be at least a little pee in you. Like there will always be some pee. Like when you die, she said there will be pee in you. So it's don't force it. Also, she said to use a squatty potty no matter what, whether you're pooping or peeing, which I thought was interesting.
I love my squatty potty. It's just sometimes
I love my squatty potty.
Yeah. It's just like sometimes when you feel like you have to pee so bad and then you pee and like you're done, but you still feel like you have to pee so bad, but nothing else is coming out. I don't get that feeling. But again, that might just be something to ask a pelvic floor person about.
But maybe that's a question for my doctor.
Yeah, I'll submit a form somewhere about that.
Well, and maybe play with some body position. Like, does leaning forward help? Does leaning back help? Does squatting more help? Does squatting less help? Like, maybe play with some
or
where's
standing.
The pressure on the pelvic floor and on the bladder? Yeah, or standing.
Fuck it up, right? Really fuck with the patriarchy.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to.
Have either of you ever used a Shiwi?
Oh yeah.
Did you like it?
Buckle up. So we were driving across the great state of Idaho in the winter, and my husband had to pee, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I do too. This is perfect," because there was like nowhere to stop. So we stopped by the side of the road. Beautiful, pristine white snow. And I was like, I will finally be able to write my name in the snow like I always dreamed of. So I get up to go, girl. I am writing my name. Life is going great. And then someone else gets off the exit. And I do not know why, but I was like, oh no, someone will see me standing to pee. This is inappropriate. Which, why? Why, brain? Why? Because nothing was showing. If anything, I was much, much more covered than if I'd been squatting.
You're like, this is just so wrong. They cannot see me in this state.
This is so wrong. I cannot allow a complete stranger to drive past and see me peeing standing up.
Oh my God.
So I panicked, broke the seal. Everything was covered in urine. So much pee-pee everywhere. I'm so glad I had a baby still at the time because we had baby wipes and I was able to clean up.
I thought you were gonna say you could blame it on the
But
baby.
So I could just
no,
blame it on the babe.
Just hold the baby out and be like, it was them.
the baby did
They
this.
peed all over me.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. So yeah,
Oh,
but up until that point, amazing.
So if you can eliminate the panic, wonderful experience.
Wonderful experience.
Okay, fair.
I didn't
Don't
realize
break the seal.
I didn't realize that's how a shiwi worked. I think, okay, because my grandma brought one, I think, on a road trip that we were on, but she still like squatted. So I still thought it was just a way to like direct your squat pee that way. But you can literally stand up and then it's like a funnel that like angles out.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, fully standing. Practice in the shower. That is what I had done. I prepared for this even. I practiced in the shower. I knew what I was going to do.
And it got flubbed.
Next time.
Oh, that's cool.
Should get a carabiner and just have one on your belt loop at all times.
At all
those
times.
like water bottles that collapse into each other, into itself? Maybe we could find a shiwi that does that. And then it could just hang off my belt loop.
Oh, this? Oh, it's just my shiwi.
It's just my shiwi.
It's just my shiwi. Just in case. If there's snow, you know?
I never know.
Yeah, like a keychain. I can make them. Everyone will want one.
Everyone.
Hanging off a carabiner. Oh my God, that's so
There
funny.
is a company that makes pants that zip from the front to the back, though. So it just splits open. Those, I was like, okay, if I was really out in the backcountry all the time, that is actually what I would probably invest in more than anything. Because I actually don't hate squatting to pee.
Yeah.
Except for the spraying all over the pants and undies problem. And feet. But you know.
Yeah, feet are last.
Well, those
I
zippers,
love-
you definitely have to be careful if you had extra long labia.
See?
Yeah.
Yes.
That might be a time.
Real concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love peeing outside. I never have a more peaceful pee than when I'm just dropping trow in the bushes.
It's the best.
It really is. The breeze is blowing. It is that deep squat that helps get all of it out. So maybe I do need to hike up my
Maybe it's time to start
squatty.
peeing in the shower.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if we're there.
No, I already do that. It just doesn't feel as good.
But like, imagine if you did it every time you had to pee.
Yeah.
Like just
I could
every
put
single
both
time.
feet, like on either side of the tub.
Yeah.
And then kind of to
Imagine if you slipped.
the mess.
Yeah, don't do that.
Talk about covered in pee.
Talk about covered in pee. Oh my gosh. Cass, do you have any brain dump questions for vaginas and vulvas?
I think that pretty much covered it for me. Is there any other crazy facts that you want to bestow upon us before we close out?
Kate, I cannot remember. Did we talk much about the clitoris last time?
Probably.
Yeah,
but
I
I
think
would
so,
love
but
more
yeah.
clitoral facts.
It sounds like a thing we would have talked about, but I will leave this. The clitoris is so much bigger than most people know because it really wasn't included in anatomy textbooks until 2019. So
Shocking.
So wrong.
Because the full anatomy one isn't discovered until 2005.
No.
So that's the other fun thing is that the doctors doing the labiaplasties, if they graduated previous to 2019. Yeah. Love that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and especially if they graduated previous to 2005.
So that's another
They haven't
question
even
to
discovered
ask.
the full anatomy of the clitoris. Yeah. When did you graduate from medical school? Was it this year? Because I will maybe talk to you about.
Holy shit.
My goodness.
That's crazy to
But
think
the
about.
clitoris, it extends down into the labia. Well, not into the labia, but around the vaginal opening is where the bulbs are. It's so much more than just that little tip, which is what we typically see portrayed when we look at vulva anatomy, if it is even included at all. There's so much more to the anatomy of the clitoris than just just the tip of it.
And is the whole thing just as sensitive as the tip?
Yeah, so people like the G spot, right? There's all this discussion about it being this very specific amount of. It's really just the backside of the clitoris.
There you go.
So like pretty much any stimulation, like people, there's always this like, well, external stimulation is blah blah blah, and internal. No, there's no superiority there. There really isn't. Like all of it's fun, but really most of it is clitoral. So if you love cervical stimulation and cervical orgasms, that's kind of its own thing. But pretty much everything else in that area is probably a clitoral orgasm, whether it's internal or external stimulation.
I love that. Let's level the playing field.
Too. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Just have more orgasms. I don't care how.
More orgasms. I don't care how. Well, that's a wonderful tidbit to leave people off with, to make sure, if you haven't already, just Google the clitoris. Just Google it to see how big it is and how vast it expands.
Look at her in all of her glory. Vast.
Your clit is big, babe.
Oh, I do remember one. There was one last tidbit too that I was going to, went back when we were talking about childbirth and vaginas and vulvas. So, one Ina May Gaskin, who's like old school midwife that I absolutely loved, made a very great point, because if you guys have seen penises when they're freezing cold, right, teeny tiny, if even out at all anymore, sometimes they disappear completely to hibernate and keep themselves warm. So if you are cool with penises stretching from that to their full glory, and we're made of the exact same tissue, why is it so surprising that our vaginas are perfectly capable of stretching out and being completely fine? No one is like, oh, those poor penises, the more sex they have, the more beat up they get, and they get scrawnier and scrawnier, the more, especially if it's with different people, not sex with their wives, that's fine. But if it's with different people, ruins the penis.
Oh my God.
Smushes it. Those
Smushes it.
Powerful vaginas enveloping those dainty little weebies.
I mean, that's the rhetoric I'm going to start using. I'm not going to lie. If I've taken anything from this podcast, it's that I will be sharing that information. But yes.
So funny. Oh, it's such a good point. When you say dainty little wee wee, I think of that like really wrinkly thing in SpongeBob. You remember? She was in a wheelchair. Yes. I think about that.
Yes.
That really wrinkly thing. Exactly, I think it's just an old woman.
Like if it has, sex with too many vaginas, that's what happens.
That's what happens.
Sorry.
Little penis.
Welcome to the matriarchy.
Amanda Montell, she's this amazing linguist. She made a great point, because she was like, it is bizarre that we call it intercourse when really it should probably be called envelopment. But once again, we always lead with what the man is doing to a woman instead of what women are doing to men, and everyone in between with all the different parts, right?
Vote to call it envelopment.
Can I interest you in
I would like to go have some envelopment this evening.
Could I envelop you?
Envelopment development. Fuck.
Would you like me to envelop you? I'm going to start saying that to my husband. I'm sure he'll love it.
It's incredibly sexy.
It's sexy. It's new. It's fresh.
Very.
I like it.
It's what's happening.
It's what's happening. It's the now. It's Brat.
Okay. Where can our listeners continue connecting with you after this episode? Find all of your work. You just blow our minds every damn time, and I know that all of your content is going to do that to our listeners, so please share.
Oh, I am over at House of Vagina. That's Haus. And houseofvagina.com is my website. I do have a podcast that has 2 seasons up. I'm really hoping to bring it back for season 3. We'll see if I can pull it off sometime soon. But in the meantime, there's 2 seasons there, and they're great.
So I guess I can't say motherfucker anymore.
I know, and you love that word.
Oh, I love
Compound
it.
word.
I love it. Not anymore.
Well, it could be like pussy or cunt. We can just take it back.
Can I say daddy fucker? That sounds not.
That
good.
Sounds like you're
what about
proposing
father
something
fucker?
else.
You
Father
fucker.
fucker. That does sound a little bit dirtier than motherfucker.
Yeah.
Motherfucker just feels more badass to me.
Mm-hmm.
and kind of always has. Like you do it like a motherfucker, which is just kind of cool.
So maybe we mean it in a good way. If we say it in a good way, then it's like so cool to fuck moms.
So cool. Which, by the way, I just finished the 2nd season of MILF Manor. If you haven't watched it, you should. It's fantastic. It's on Max. And this is not a paid partnership, but I just love MILF Manor.
But one day, it might be.
It might be. God, I wish what I would do. Thank you so much, April, for coming back on the podcast today to always just answer our like brain dump questions about our bodies. And thank you to our honeys for hanging out.
You can head on over to Apple Podcasts to rate, review, and subscribe to Honey Do Me. You can leave us a written review. You can rate us on Spotify. You can watch our video episodes on YouTube. And if you ever have any episode suggestions or questions, go ahead and submit those at the link in our bio. We will be featuring questions we get asked in solo episodes, and I think it's going to be very, very fun. So make sure that you submit those dirty little burning cues you got. And
and that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wait,
we'll see
sorry.
You sure.
Side note, and this is just for our outro people, because during our summer rewind, we talked a little bit about The Bachelor, and I said, I love Devin. And then
oh my God,
Devin turned out to be a total asshole. So I don't.
Yep. We take it back.
I have terrible taste, apparently.
You know what? I think we were all I questioned myself so much when I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I was tomfooleried by Devin. But I mean, you have to also remember it was edited to believe that he was a good guy.
But it's just because he looks a little bit like Pete Davidson. That was why.
I don't see that.
You didn't see it?
No,
I saw it immediately. It's
maybe the gums, but that's all.
It's a vibe. It's there. It's faint. It's like I don't know, like the LaCroix version of Pete Davidson.
But
you know what I mean? There's an essence.
The select version of Safeway, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like still not LaCroix, but it's bubbly.
I like Safeway LaCroix, but whatever.
I do too.
But I also like Devin.
I shouldn't have used that.
So you know what? Maybe that Safeway LaCroix is going to come around and bite me in the ass. Anyways, I just had to come back around and say that.
Thank you for clearing the air. I wish her well. And I saw a video she posted where she was on top of a bar pouring Jameson in people's mouths, and they were all screaming, fuck Devin. So
I love that for her. I will say she's my favorite Bachelorette.
I know. She fucking killed it.
She was amazing. She was so funny. Loved it.
Yeah. So that's our little Bachelorette corner. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. And closing out. We love you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.